All right, we got to get a couple more groups in here before it's time to go. Boom, boom, boom. Spinning wheel. Man, that's how I feel on Monday mornings. Okay, we're good. Welcome in. Welcome in. It is 7:31 a.m. Mountain Time, November 29th, Monday morning, which means it's time for a somewhat instant reaction. Wake up with your coffee show for the Broncos coming off of a victory, honestly a very solid victory, a butt whipping almost of the Los Angeles Chargers. Your Denver Broncos are 6-5. Good morning, Scott. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. I think of this as the morning after. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, all right, we've slept on it. Now what do we think? The gut reaction was last night. This is when you're either super high or really pissed. This is the morning after you have a little chance to think on it and maybe give a little bit more rational, be a little bit more rational about it. But it was pretty easy to be rational last night. 'Cause like you said, that there wasn't a lot of doubt about that one.
No.
The Broncos, that was a pretty comprehensive beating of the Chargers.
Yeah, no, the Chargers looked like a team that relies completely on their quarterback. And if he isn't playing like a superhero, they're going to struggle. And when he plays like a superhero, they win. So I don't know if there's a team right now that's as correlated to their team's success as their quarterback goes. But alas, the Broncos played complementary football and beat up on the Los Angeles Chargers at home. And boy, does that feel good. We got Max coming in with 5 pounds out of the gate. Thank you so much, Max. And he says, just got to call it Scott real quick. Uh-oh, Scott. He predicted the Chargers to blow out the Broncos. Is Surtain better than you guys thought he'd be this quick? Well, Max, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Scott here, but you can call me out anytime as long as it comes with a super chat. I am totally call me out, Dad. Daddy, come on. I'm fine with it.
I used to joke when people complained about rankings
Yeah.
on Scout when I was doing those. I'm like, this is what we pay for. I'm like, no, you don't. The rankings are free.
Yeah.
Like, then what are we paying for? I'm like, you're paying for the right to call me an idiot and for me to be here and listen to it. No, I think I said 31-17 was my score because I know I didn't like the over under, which was I think at 47.5, but I like the Chargers on that. I don't think I was alone.
No.
So you're going to be real busy calling out people that pick the Chargers in that one. But the pattern, if there is a pattern in these games of the getting beat when you don't think they should and then beating the teams they shouldn't, it's the teams that are bullying them in the trenches that are winning.
Yep.
And so far, the teams that aren't necessarily like that, the Broncos have handled. So you're matching up. That's what gives me pause about, is this Cincinnati Bengals team coming up? Are they a true AFC North type of competition where you've seen the struggles against the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns, the Eagles? They're almost AFC North. They're kind of up in that area. Those teams that are really strong in the trenches, you've struggled with, even though other teams have beaten them. The teams that aren't that way, you've taken care of business. And last night, I think, was the best job we've seen on both lines of scrimmage so far, against decent competition. Hell, even against bad competition that we've seen all year. When you guys have heard us say it a zillion times, when you can pressure the quarterback with a front four, you're a really tough defense to beat.
Yeah.
And that was as good as I've seen a four-man rush in the Denver Broncos this year. Max, appreciate it. Appreciate your support.
Yeah, thanks so much, Max. We appreciate that. And Clee coming in to your rescue, saying, "Can you blame Scott? Who can predict the Broncos team will decide to show up any given week?" I think this goes beyond Denver. I mean, this is we've been saying it for a couple weeks now. At least I have. This is such a parity-driven league, and there are so many teams that are just right there in the middle. And trying to predict who's going to win week to week, game to game, has been very difficult. And there's really not much cream rising to the top as far as the NFL this season.
I feel like, Nick, with the Broncos, I'm like 1 of 7.
Yeah, they're just hard to predict. I mean, who's going to show up?
After winning 3 in a row, I think, the Ravens were beat up. I'm like, okay, home game. We can win that game. Nope. I may have finally jumped off the bandwagon on the lost one, so I lost 3 or 4 there. I didn't pick them to beat the Cowboys. Who would have?
Yeah.
I think I did pick the Washington football team, but I definitely didn't I picked the Eagles to win. So that's the only one I feel like I've gotten right in 2 months.
Well, I feel like every time I pick against them, they win. So I'm just going to keep on that train because I'm not going to mess with good juju. Jamie coming in saying, I have no idea who the Broncos are because one week they look like world beaters and the next week they look like they don't want to be on the field. Mo saying, if only Vegas let me bet on the number of injuries we'd sustain each game. Oh my God, at this point it's crazy. Clee commented on that as well. Fangio must be coach of the year. Oh my God. What a ride this has been. Must be a coach of the year
I
since
mean,
he's gotten the
honestly,
team.
there's something to that, y'all. If you take a look at the outside and you start thinking, just forget everything and just listen to this. The Broncos just dominated a 6-4 Chargers team with 4 backup linemen and a backup to a backup on the offensive line. They've lost every single linebacker they had. They've lost Von Miller. Bradley Chubb was just back in, and they just dominated that game. They're 1 game out of first place.
And they're out without a starting defensive tackle as well.
That sounds like a hell of a coaching job, from the outside looking in. Now, there's more factors to that, obviously. We've talked about the good depth on this team and all of those type of things. But this hasn't been overall the big picture. 6-5 right now with all these injuries is not a bad job.
No, not at all. Man, you really wish looking back they could have held or come back and beaten the Pittsburgh Steelers team. That team seems to be falling apart, held together by, along with Ben Roethlisberger's arm, held together by duct tape, and they're falling apart. And the Browns game as well. Man, the Broncos got a really bad break in that one. Teddy coming off the injury, and the Broncos playing 2 linebackers on a short week on the road. I mean, I feel like if that had been a normal Sunday night game, we actually have a chance, but trying to get those linebackers good to go against the Browns in that short week, so hard to do. But here we are, 6-5. Everything you want to do is right in front of you.
Like we said about that Browns team,
trenches.
Their injuries weren't in their strengths.
Yeah.
They had injuries, but their strengths were on the offensive line and their defense. And those were still in good shape at the time. They're not playing that well now, and they've come back down. Dave, appreciate the stars on those, as always.
Appreciate you,
much
Dave.
much love. Blue and orange. And it does show up on the Facebook and user end. It shows up black and white on our screen on here, but that doesn't matter. It's what you see that matters.
Exactly. A lot of people coming in. DBA's in the house. Trevor Sandoval, Mark Lindemode. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. We got Robot of Doom. Good morning, fellas. Making some breakfast sandwiches while listening to the best podcast in Broncos country, Robot of Doom. You flatter us. That's so nice of you. Jamal Killings, good morning to you. PS2 bald yesterday. We got Miguel Santa Steven coming in here. Good morning, fellas. I hope we maintain this momentum. Can't give stars right now. Black Friday killed the wallet. I feel that, Miguel. I feel that. We also got DeAndre Witherspoon saying 3-4 in the conference. You know what? You got plenty of chance to move that the correct direction going forward. DeAndre Witherspoon saying big win yesterday. Heck yeah. Jetty Splash picked the Chargers. I did too. No shame there. Yvonne coming in here saying
with Yvonne, it says, good morning. How about that win? Credit to young talent, especially on defense.
And
JW, Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a lot. And I think because of the limited, if you look percentage wise, I think, I've said 75 plays, 25 throws, 50 touches for the running backs. Well, you didn't get 75 plays. You had 3 possessions in the second half. Proportion wise, I think it worked out about where you want it to be, where the running backs are carrying the load. I mean, you're going against the league's worst rush defense. You've got 2 number 1 running backs.
Yep.
This was a pretty easy formula. And the defense held up their end of things for sure. I think the defense played their best game of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to your point further, the Broncos offensive line was extremely injured and banged up. And the guys that came in, typically it's much easier to be a run blocker than a pass blocker. But that's especially true for Netane Moody and Quinn Miners. There were some plays that both those guys opened up and moved earth in the run game. But there were some plays in the the pass game where they whiffed. Olay, the pass rusher gets right by him and in the face of Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock. But you take those kind of plays, you limit them, you take them off the field, and you make the Chargers defense think that I have to play gap control. I have to look for the run because they're gashing us right now. They're moving us off the line, and that can really nullify a pass rush so much when you are that physical with the run game. And it worked. It worked. So thank you so much, Yvonne, for the stars here. He continues with this performance.
Double dipping.
Man, I love it, Yvonne. Happy Black Monday to us, I guess, or something. With this performance, we cannot be certain that Fangio will not come back next season. I still believe that even though we don't reach the playoffs, he has the excuse of injuries. I think they still got to make the playoffs. George Payton is tried to do everything to empower Vic Fangio this season, and there's been games where he has not been very good. Fangio and his defense has not lived up to it despite the investment. I know there are injuries there, but every single team has to deal with some injuries. I think that it's not as much of an excuse as I'd like to give. So you got everything in front of you. You got 6 games left. You need to finish probably 4-2 down the stretch to make the playoffs to reach 10 wins. I would assume that 4-2 would get it done with the 7th playoff spots with 10 wins. But
I'm thinking 9-8 might sneak you in, honestly.
They lost too many AFC games.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing. I think they probably have to win 10 because if there's going to be a bunch of teams that have that are 9-8. But still, that we'll see. But yeah, no, it's great. We'll see. We got Kayla saying every time I give them 0 chance to win, they shut me up. I'm going to just keep assuming they lose. You and I both, Kayla. Chris Hernandez, cheers to meaningful football in December. God bless you, Chris. That's one of my favorite points that we could make. Let's get back to that real quick. We got to get into the matters of business. Chris, thank you so much for the stars, the beer, and the coffee. Whatever you're drinking this morning, be safe. But guys, this is Huddle Up Podcast. We are Broncos for breakfast. You can follow Scott and I both on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are joining us on Facebook, or if you have a Facebook, make sure you are joining our community, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Become a supporter. There's also facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. The live streams go on there every single time. There's a lot of content and communication on there, a lot of discussions. If you guys want to talk the quarterback, you want to talk the offensive line, Vic Fangio coming back or not, all of that can be discussed there. So make sure you join those groups. I know that everybody is not in a position also to contribute to the shows financially, which is totally fine. We appreciate you just being here. But if you are in a position, or if you in a position where you can contribute financially, either way, make sure you go to our YouTube page, subscribe, like, and share. That's the number one thing you can do to support our show outside of the super chats and the superstars. And by doing so, make sure other Bronco fans are seeing the show saying, hey, man, these guys, they don't know a lick of what they're talking about, but at least they're fun and I like them. So you can subscribe, like, and share. That would help us a lot. Also, go to Scott's channel, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy.
So also, real quick, we've got a new sponsor for the show, and it's for all shows, which is kind of nice. So this is the first time we've had to do this. We were supposed to do this a little earlier, and I promise we will get on a better rhythm. But it's for my bookie, and I'm gonna go through this real quick. So on the heels of Turkey Day, my bookie is giving you plenty of reasons to be thankful. Right now, you can set yourself up for success by heading to mybookie.ag and doubling your first deposit when using promo code, you guessed it, MHH. That's right. When you use promo code MHH, MyBookie will double your initial deposit all the way up to $1,000. Not bad. Talk about a boost entering the Broncos stretch run just in time for Christmas.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Make sure you guys are checking that out. Dale Hendricks in the house. Good morning. It's great to see everybody on a victory Monday morning. Keith is in the house. Williams is a stud. Both running backs are a stud. I mean, I know everybody's really excited about Javonte Williams. What, he had 3 catches for like 50+ yards too. But Melvin Gordon had a heck of a game too, holding on to the football. Both those running backs complement each other very well. Have another drink of coffee and smash that like button, says Mark. And Della, I agree with you totally. Well, good morning, Della Barker. Just being above 500 this late in the season is wonderful. Amen to that. DeAndre also coming in with the stats: 6-0 when they run for 100 yards or more, and 30+ run attempts, and 0-5 when they don't. Simple for the rest of the year, run the ball. I want to get into this because I think this is a classic example of correlation is not causation. These are very much indicators of game flow. And what do I mean by that? I think this is as much about how the Broncos play and perform in the first half, in the first quarter, but specifically the first half, as anything. This Broncos team, when the defense is giving up touchdowns and the other team is marching down the field in the first half, and the Broncos are playing from behind, the run game goes to the wayside because, of course, it does. It's really hard to play catch up with the run game because the clock is your enemy at that point, not your friend. So I think this is very much a success of the first half stat as well. I would bet that the games where the Broncos are 6-0 and ran for 100 yards, they're at most down by 1 possession going into the second half. They're not getting whipped in the first half.
Well, and the other part of this was, they're able to get some yards on first down for a change. 8 for 11 on third down yesterday. That was significantly higher. I bet you, I call this seat of my pants analytics. Instead of the normal 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, it was closer to 3rd and 4 on average.
Mhm.
because you were winning first and second down against a team that couldn't stop the run, and you ran the ball. So 3 for 3 in the red zone, 8 for 11 on third down. You're going to be a tough team to beat that way, especially if you get an extra. And actually, that was for the first part of Max's question. The second part of Max's question about Pat Surtain, especially when you get a defensive score. Is he as good as you thought he'd be right now? Yeah, he is. In fact, I think he's taken for me, he's actually taken a little bit longer to get there than I was expecting. I was expecting to be kind of a plug and play right away. And, half a season. If the other guys, the veterans, had been playing better, I think you would have noticed Surtain maybe a little more because he's still a rookie. But yeah, I expected him to be really, really good on this team. He was the guy I said that the Broncos should draft back when I knew you needed corners in January. This was before free agency. For me, he was the best cornerback in this draft, a top 10 guy in a draft that was loaded with special top 10 guys this year. That this is a Pro Bowl cornerback for years to come. So I'm not surprised at the success that he's having. No, I'm not, because he was really good, and it was a good pick.
Yeah, and football defense especially is so much about the guys around you doing their job, so that way you are in a position to take advantage. And like that Pat Surtain pick 6, you're not playing that type of defense if the rest so it was a zone coverage, obviously, and you're not playing that kind of defense if the rest of the guys aren't getting it done and you're getting torched. You're probably going to a man look, but because they can sit back there, all eyes on the quarterback coming forward, you can take advantage of that when the ball kicks up in the air, because it's going to happen at some point. And he's right place, right time. Precious guys are getting home. Patrick Surtain got a game ball. First thing he does is credit the pass rush, consistently winning up front, which hats off to them. Rashawn Slater looked like a rookie out there for the Chargers on the offensive line. And Patrick Surtain comes down with 2, and he had a good game. Also, credit to Surtain getting those opportunities over on the other side of the field. They challenged Darby early, and Darby made a couple great plays on the ball in some tough situations. I mean, Mike Williams made a highlight catch. I know they called offensive pass interference on one of his that I wasn't sure about, but they got it done. And then Herbert started going to Surtain, and that didn't work out for him. So we got Michael coming in here saying, good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Travis is also in the house. Morning, fellas. Such a good weekend of football. Broncos and Hawkeyes got it done. Travis,
I appreciate the stars, Travis.
Travis, I bet you are like me. I'm going to be a bottle of nerves all week. Hawkeyes for the Big Ten championship versus Michigan Saturday night, and then Denver versus Kansas City in Arrowhead for the AFC West lead. My God, this could go really poorly or really greatly for me either way, but we'll see. Lawrence is in the house too, always a big star giver for us. Man, I was wrong on the prediction, but I guess our primetime game needed that win. Hopefully we can get more instead of the Raiders. Man, that Raiders win this week really threw a wrench in things. DWI guys, morning gents, good win yesterday. Ethan, it's great to see you. Hope you're doing well this fine morning across the pond there. I mean, I'll let Scott look over here to see if we have any supers that I'm missing. But
yeah, here's a new name real quick. Alan, I don't recognize that name. Has come in with some stars this morning, so appreciate you, Alan. You might not be new to the show, but you're new to me, and I haven't been around here that long. So a lot of y'all have been around here a lot longer than I have. So welcome. Appreciate the support this morning.
Yeah, no, totally. And Clee's saying, imagine Michigan beating Ohio State then losing to Iowa. Hey, man, anything can happen. Iowa plays kind of like what Denver did this last week, where they want to run the football, play good, smart defense. Yeah, I mean, last time Michigan,
when you win your Super Bowl a week early, you're ripe to get beat. You're ripe for a letdown. It can go one of two ways. You can either take that momentum and roll, or there's a letdown. We've seen both of them happen a million times, as much football as we've watched.
Yeah, and the last time Michigan was ranked number 2 in the country, they went into Kinnick Stadium and lost the following game on a time expiring field goal in 2006. So anything can happen. I don't think Iowa could match up with Ohio State, but Michigan, they're not that type of offense. So we'll see. Gary Leeds Palmer coming in. Great morning, all. Good morning, all. Great win. God bless you, Gary. Great to see you. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and thank you so much for the support. Yeah, what a great win. I want to get into this first. I want to give a shout out first to the defense. What a great game. What did you think of the Broncos defensive front, the front seven specifically in this game? I know a lot of people want to talk Patrick Surtain, which Miguel coming in. I don't want to hear about Justin Fields anymore. Patrick Surtain the second equals instant contributor. Let's wait, 4 or 5 years here. The Broncos are at quarterback, but as Scott likes to say, and I really appreciate this perspective, you don't lose by passing Justin Fields. You lose by taking somebody there that is a bust, a bad player. Patrick Surtain is so far from a bust. He looks like he could be one of the top 10. He might already be one of the top 15 cornerbacks in football. Scott's saying, you got a Pro Bowl coming up. I mean, with how young he is, his skill set, I mean, you could be talking about a guy who could be a legitimate all pro. I mean, they're talking about a step above Pro Bowl. So, Broncos they have to figure out the quarterback, right? They still have to figure out the quarterback long term, but you need good players around that quarterback whenever you get them. And Surtain looks like he's going to be a decade plus long guy at one of the hardest positions to find in the NFL.
Yeah, if you keep stocking your team with, I'm showing one bar on my internet for some reason, so let me know if it's freezing up or anything. But if you keep stocking your team with good players, you're going to be all right. And Patrick Surtain was a good pick. Justin Fields, you may regret down the road, Justin Fields ends up being the guy and you had a chance, but I don't think you're going to look back. I like to think of it as, Michael Jordan went number 3. Do you think the Houston Rockets regretted taking Akeem Olajuwon? No. Akeem the Dream's one of the best players. I think he's one of the most underrated superstars of all time. That was a fine pick. It was the next guy. It was Sam Bowie, who went number 2. That's the one that killed you. Not taking Akeem, not passing on Michael Jordan. Akeem was the man. Now, would it have been nice to have Michael Jordan? Yeah, of course. But, you don't regret taking a guy like Akeem Olajuwon, and you're not going to regret taking a guy like Patrick Surtain.
Yeah. And we lost your sound there in the last one there, unless you're a little bit behind. Scott's dealing with little internet issues there. But yeah, no, I want to get into the pass rush. I thought these guys had an excellent game. I know that I said it. I don't know if it was on one of the morning shows or not, but I really, really do not respect. This sounds so rude. I don't really think much of Joe Lombardi as an offensive coordinator, and I think that really showed in this game with Justin Herbert. And the Broncos pass rushers got home. I know that Bradley Chubb did not have the most impactful game as far as the stat sheet goes, but he was getting double teamed pretty often. I saw a lot of plays on third down where the opponent, the Chargers, decided that they needed to send a running back and a tackle to block Bradley Chubb to chip him. And that freed up guys like Jonathan Cooper. That freed up on the McTelvin-Agim sack. They allocated 2 blockers to Bradley Chubb, and McTelvin-Agim wins his one-on-one and gets home. I mean, that's the stuff where they've missed that guy on the edge since Vaughn was traded and since Chubb has been off. And when you're freeing up a guy like Cooper on the edge with a one-on-one, with Reed on the edge with a one-on-one, guys who can play further from the offensive line, now that you have Chubb who can be more of a true hand in the dirt edge, the defensive pass rush looked so much better, so much more consistent this week. And that was without Shelby Harris. So hats off to them. And we got Ivan coming back and saying, I love the energy that Young brings to the defense. We should sign him. The one I wanted to get into the linebackers as well. Young caught my eye in this game, but I'm going to be real with you guys. Number 56, Baron Browning, 100th overall pick in the draft. That dude was everywhere. What a great game from Baron Browning. If that kid can stay healthy, you're talking about a different type of linebacker out there for the Broncos than they've had for a while. The guy is a freak. He is massive. He can move. I mean, there was a play in coverage that he had where it was zone. He looked like he covered about 3 different guys that came across his zone and then dropped back and got his hands skied and got his hands on the ball. I mean, that's a different level play for a linebacker. And to be one that's, what was he, 6'4", 250 and the athlete that he is, amazing. So I'm so excited for Baron Browning going forward on this team. Kenny Young had a great game as well, no doubt about it. But Young, to me, was the one who stood out consistently. 56 flashing on the screen, coverage, pass rush, run defense. That kid has a chance to be a difference maker, and the Broncos took him with a compensatory pick in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I'm still showing. I've connected to 3 different routers, and I'm still showing just one bar.
You look better now. You sound better too.
Yeah, well, as good as I can anyway. Sorry, I'm not better looking. No, you started asking me about the front 4, and the front 4 was dominating. It didn't matter who was in there. You were getting several different names in there: Weatherly, Agim, Bradley Chubb coming in, Cooper. It kept going. Shamar Stevens. All these guys just kept coming in waves. Deshaun Williams, one of my favorite players, was in there. Drawing a big hold and hitting the quarterback, even on plays they were making. They were getting pressure. So. Front 4 dominated this game, and that makes everything easy for the guys behind them.
Yeah, they were very good. It was also really good to see Mike Purcell back out there, not only back on the field, but 2-gapping. I feel like the Broncos kind of went away from Purcell doing as much of the 2-gapping in some recent weeks, and he looked the defense looked much better with him there, truly two-gapping. So it was great to see him doing that. Scott, I'll let you work the back end here to see if we have anything. But it's incredible to have this defensive front seven looking like they did. And I know that everybody wants to blow some premium resources at the linebacker position because I think that it's a very romanticized position. But you're talking about one of the last picks, actually the last pick of the third round in Baron Browning, pick 100, and a guy that you traded for and Kenny Young, who wasn't here preseason. Has played in this defense, at least knowing the scheme somewhat, but he wasn't here in preseason. You traded a 2023 seventh and got Kenny Young in a 2024 seventh round pick. Broncos are paying next to nothing for the linebacker position, right? For resources, they put in nothing, and they got such difference makers out there. So really, I don't want to say that linebackers are the running back of the defense, but I mean, they really, good job by Fangio, good job by Peyton, not spending premium resources and getting incredible return on investment at the linebacker position. After that, I want to get to the secondary. Obviously, it was a great game. We talked about Darby. We talked about Patrick Surtain. I was really impressed with Kyle Fuller in this game as well. I thought Kyle Fuller had a pretty good game from the slot. Now, obviously, the ball has to go somewhere at some point, right? Like people get upset about, oh man, they're throwing it at the linebackers. We need to have two Luke Kuechly's back there to have better linebacker play. Well, the offense is going to have to move the ball and try to target something. They tried Darby early. They tried Surtain. Both of those doors were pretty emphatically shut. So they went after Fuller, and Fuller did give up some yards. He's not as quick twitch from the nickel as you'd love, but I thought he held up admirably. And overall, I mean, the defense, I can't really single anybody out that I thought had a less than average game. Nobody was below average as far as the defense goes when I can think about it.
No, everybody contributed in that game, and like I said, it wasn't just the starters. You know, you were throwing waves of players, and they were all coming through, which is great because then they start feeding off one each other. That competition that you get from player to player and the momentum that it builds, you really need it coming into this next game. And primetime game, first place, Chiefs Broncos. It's a good time to start playing well.
And it's great to have Chubb back. He's hopefully will be that much healthier and playing better going forward. And Clayton saying, our linebackers flew to the ball. I did a great job in coverage. It's been pretty amazing to see the defense here recently. And we got Matt Henry coming in. Good morning, guys. Broncos for breakfast. Good to see you. DBA, I was down by the stadium yesterday. I saw that Jeremy was down at the stadium yesterday too. So congratulations going to your first game in a while. I am 0-7 in Broncos games that I've attended live. So somebody pay me to not go. That'd be great. I was down by the stadium yesterday, but didn't go to the game. Need to watch a replay of it. Yeah, you definitely do. It was a great game. And man, talk about the formula. This is something I've preached while Scott tries to figure out his internet here all season, all off season, that this Broncos team can win football games in a old school fashion, in a three-phase fashion. And that's what we saw this week. And I think this game really kicked off. This game was won by the Broncos in the first 4 drives of the game. That set up the game for the Broncos to win the rest of this game. So obviously they go down the field, they punted on that first drive, but I think it's a 9-play drive, maybe an 8-play drive that takes 5 minutes off the clock. They punt it. Amazing punt by Martin. Amazing coverage by Nate Hairston Jr. They put it down on the 1-yard line. The 1-yard line from the special teams. And then the defense comes out. So now the Chargers are in a world of hurt. They are their backs up against their own goal line. And one misstep could be a pick six, could be a safety, and you're in trouble at that point. Broncos then force a 3-and-out from when the Chargers taking the ball at the 1. Amazing. That run, the run play on 3rd and 2, Kenny Young knifes into the backfield, causes Eckler to change his route, and Browning, perfect patience, staying square at the line of scrimmage, coming up and meeting Young at the point of attack and pushing him back. It was amazing play from the linebackers. Good job by the defensive line, forcing the Chargers to go 3-and-out. And then after that, the Broncos get the ball on the Chargers side of the field. I think it was like the 48, marching down the field. Teddy Bridgewater on 2nd and goal from the 8, I would say, runs it in, protects the football, pulls it. I know there was some conversation on Twitter about why didn't he throw it to Judy? It's 2nd and goal from the 8 in the first quarter in a 0-0 game. That's a really risky throw to make there. Pulls it in, runs it down the right sideline for a touchdown. Broncos up 7-0. Buddy, we are rolling at that point. If you are up, this team, first quarter is so important for this Broncos team because if they can play with a lead, the run game, they can protect the quarterback, the offensive line. They don't have to put them in drop back pass protection situations, and they can dictate up front. They can run the inside zone very effectively. Miners there at 77, getting a lot of push. And then you don't have to rely on your quarterback in that drop back game. So 3-phase game, Broncos winning on special teams, on defense, and then the run game, using that run game to control the point, control the flow, be physical at the point of attack, and then take your shots, calculated shots to protect the offensive line, to protect your quarterback, and use that play action. It's pretty incredible. It's exactly how the Patriots are winning right now. You don't see a lot of people arguing BS about the Patriots, man, they need to air it out more. No, they're winning football games. They're Mac Jones is protecting the football. He's getting it to their guys in time. They're playing incredible defense. And they're not asking their quarterback to reinvent the wheel. You're not Aaron Rodgers, so don't ask him to go be Aaron Rodgers. It's the same thing with Teddy Bridgewater. He's limited. He's got a limited arm. He's a limited athlete, and he's not going to test some windows that you see in some other guys' highlight throws. That's okay. It doesn't have to be highlights across the board for your quarterback to be effective. Sorry. Welcome back, Scott. You look beautiful.
I only spend $200 a month on internet. What do you really expect out of gigabit speeds? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Well, we got high expectations here.
Welcome back. You look great. Good to see you. I was starting to get into it a little bit, getting a little bit heated, not heated, but passionate about how this is the perfect formula for the Broncos winning. Complementary football. Then the first 3 drives of the game, absolutely perfect. Broncos get a long drive. They punt the ball. Sam Martin and Nate Hairston pin the ball in the 1. They get a 3 and out. The Broncos get the ball back on the Chargers side of the field. They march it down 7-0, and we're off to the races. You can lean on the ground game at that point, and then even beyond that, in the next 2 drives, Chargers 3 and out, Broncos another touchdown. So pretty incredible, 14-0, controlling it, and this is exactly the formula. If the Broncos score first, we got a chance.
You said it. That's exactly the formula we talked about the whole time, which included keeping healthy. And Shane, appreciate the stars coming in. Justin Fields, too. The rookie quarterbacks are struggling across the board. Mac Jones, who is in the best situation, is having the best season. Not to be too big of a surprise there, but Trevor Lawrence didn't look that great this weekend. Justin Fields has looked bad. We haven't seen anything of Trey Lance. Zach Wilson has looked awful. So it's a tough league. It's a tough league to come into. So if you thought you had a playoff run, you took a guy who you thought could help you win now. The quarterback wasn't going to do that. I get the fact that you feel like you could be in limbo another 2 years, but this was a playoff roster.
Yeah.
But the formula all of a sudden went sorry, that one flashed up. The formula was pretty simple. Run the ball, protect the ball, play good defense.
Protect the ball.
Protect the ball and play good defense. And this team was good enough to do that. And we've seen when they do that, they win. And 2 of their best wins have been pretty comprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers and the Cowboys. Those are 2 teams that will likely have a pretty good chance of being in the playoffs. Cowboys for sure. And those were pretty comprehensive wins following the formula. Getting good plays, runs after the catch, taking care of the ball, and relying on that defense to hold teams down and get you the ball back and wear them down.
Yeah.
And, rely on those big running backs.
And I want to address this, Colin, because suddenly all Nick's pet theories are getting blown to hell. There's a lot of data behind those theories as well. And saying running backs don't matter is a lot of hyperbole because it's meant to be provocative, right? It's not a joke, but it's meant to be provocative. Running backs don't matter is meant to be more so investing in the position instead of the offensive line, and the run game is typically your running game is only typically going to be as good as the run blocking. But Javonte Williams looks great. And I think that not spending a 1st-round pick on a running back, Broncos did exactly what I'd hope they do with the running back position this year. I had 3 guys on tier 1, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, and Javonte Williams. Take the last guy on the board. Perfect. You got to run tier 1 running back with the latest pick of those tier 1 running backs. That's great draft strategy.
Trade up to get him, which might have made you cringe just a little bit.
Just a little eye tweaking. Just a little bit.
The pick that they sent to the Falcons, to move up to that spot actually had to play a lot at center yesterday. So, it's funny. I read through the chat, and stuff like, oh, I saw a couple dozen Chargers jersey. What's the matter with you guys, the Broncos fans? I'm like, are you joking?
Yeah.
If being here in Atlanta with these franchises and being this is such a transient city where all the Yankees move south and then complain about the South, go back home then. If it was a 60-40 split, we considered that a home field advantage. You guys were talking about a couple dozen people. You're spoiled.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But the running backs were great in this game. I really like them in the pass protection game. And Denver has one of the best 1-2 running back punches in the game. And that's their identity this year. Obviously, EPA per play tends to lean more towards the pass game. But I think that's heavily influenced by teams that have really upper tier quarterbacks. And the Broncos are limited at the quarterback position. They just are. So you're going to lean more into your run game. You're going to play a little bit more ball control. And that's a winning formula. I was just saying, everybody right now is tripping over themselves to crown the New England Patriots. Oh, the Patriots are back. The Patriots are back. They're not asking Mac Jones to do diddly. Protect the ball.
He's a 25th ranked guy right now or so. May have moved up into the 20th range. He's an Alabama Crimson Tide game manager from the 2000s.
And he's playing
literally. He made more plays. He had, but he had the weapons he had at wide receiver at Alabama were crazy. But I forgot he went to Alabama when I said that. But I think of Jay Barker and the '92 Alabama Crimson Tide. Guy's a folk hero and never had to do anything but turn around and hand the ball off and watch Curry and Copeland destroy people on defense.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, that can be winning football. If you protect the football, you have a very effective and efficient ground game because of a good offensive line. And your defense is out there, limiting teams to 14 points. You're going to win games as long as you're putting the defense in a bad position. And if you switch Teddy Bridgewater and Mac Jones right now, honestly, the Patriots probably have another win because Mac Jones wasn't as good early in the season as he is now. But they're playing effectively, stylistically, the same game right now. But the last point to you, Colin, I'm emboldened by linebackers don't matter as far as investment at the position. You have a first round or the last pick in the third round rookie out there looking like a stud. And he didn't even have a full offseason of work because he's been battling injuries and he already looks incredible. And you traded a 2023 seventh for Kenny Young and a 2024 seventh. Talk about not using premium resources at the position and getting an amazing return on investment. Now, obviously, if you have a difference maker, swing away. But I think that's I feel further emboldened by that take about the linebacker position because they didn't spend diddly on the position and they're balling out.
Yeah, I think when Nick and I discuss this, I talk about the exception to the rule. If you find an exception, and I think Nick will agree with me on this. If you think Kyle Hamilton, a safety, is that exception, then I'm okay taking him in the top 5. But you better hit. You better hit on that because you took a miss on a guy in the top 5. It hurts you anyway. But the chances of you not getting any type of impact on a miss there is stronger than it's at some of the more premium positions. And Lawrence Rivera comes in and says, "What about Teddy playing hurt again yesterday?" I watched the press conference from Fangio and from Teddy yesterday, and he said something like, it always feels good when you win. He was pretty calm about it. I thought it was interesting. I didn't see any of this, but one of the reporters asked him a question about him taking criticism from standing away from his teammates, and he just kind of laughed and just shook his head. I'm like, that's strategic, so I can see and relay things back to the quarterback that's in there. That's kind of what we do. So people will find reasons to nitpick players that they don't particularly like, whether they're good or bad. And I'm not just saying this about Teddy. I'm saying period.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it a zillion times without a doubt. So, but Teddy quit on a play. It was a bad look. It was really bad. He didn't quit on his team. If you question his toughness, watch what he's come back from with that knee injury of his. I don't question his toughness. I questioned his decision-making at that moment because you got to try and make a play, and he didn't. He quit on that play, and that was bad. But knowing what we know about Teddy, I expected him to make up for it. And I think he did. He had a solid game.
Yeah, and I don't think you see this team respond the way they did today if they didn't buy into Teddy Bridgewater's apology to them, going to each team's each positional meeting and talking with those players at a very small group. So Teddy played his heart out today. He was efficient overall. I mean, I know that we had it was only 3 targets to Judy, or even less than that, 3 to Patrick, 3 to Sutton as well. But this is a game where everything lined up in a way that you were not going to be taking a lot of shots to the wide receivers. The Chargers are awesome in pass EPA per play defensively. I think they're 8th in the league coming into this game. They like to play 2 high shells. And your offensive line was beat up to hell against Joey Bosa. That's one thing where it's schematic. Teddy Bridgewater, take what's there. Don't let Joey Bosa beat you because he can. One strip sack and the game's completely changed. You Bronco fans should know that as much as anybody. Look at Super Bowl 50, that strip sack, boom, 10 to nothing. Broncos can just sit on the ball from there on out. Pretty much. They still have to put up some points, but 10-0 that early because of a strip sack. It's a totally different game. So it was a perfect game for the Broncos to protect the pass game, to not expose their pass tackles and pass sets, and run right into the the soft underbelly of the Chargers.
Well, and let's look at the second half, right?
Yeah.
What was the first series was a 3-and-out, I think. Okay. Then the Chargers keep the ball for a long time, and then you get it back. Okay, you need an answer.
Yeah.
It's now one possession game, and you go on a long drive of your own. That was it.
Yep.
Then it was 21-7, I think, at the time. By the time you get the ball back again, you've got a 2-score lead, and you got to kill the clock, and you just ran. Then it was, if you throw the ball, I'm going to smack you time.
Yeah.
So there were only 3 drives and really only 2 where your intention was to try and score points in the entire second half.
Yeah.
So if you're playing that way and you're playing this style, you're not going to get a lot of targets for your receivers. We've said that before. Are you okay with catching 3 passes for 45 yards and putting a W on the board? I think they probably are. Would they like to be more explosive? Yes, and that's why you sign these guys long term. You sign those guys because you know what they're capable of, and you plan on working your way towards that offense. But you can't play that way right now and win with the quarterbacks that you have. So you've got to be a little more conservative, especially against a team that's last in the NFL in rush defense.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to play to who you match. The Chiefs have also really struggled in run defense this season. Their linebacking play has been below average. I think they've looked a lot better with Chris Jones back in there. No dip. Chris Jones is probably one of the top 3 interior defensive linemen in football right now, but that's going to be a real tough game for them. I know that the offensive line looked solid in the inside zone run game, but I do hope that Dalton Reisner is back out there for his pass protection, because I do not trust Moody at all against Chris Jones's, what was he, a 35.5-inch arm length or something, and Moody's at like 31.5 or 32.5. I mean, that's good luck in the pass protection in that situation. But it's a game that worked out pretty well for the Broncos, and the formula worked perfectly. If you can come out there and score first against Kansas City, you got a chance to control the rest of the game from there. It's going to be really hard to fall back behind 2 possessions when you're already up 7-0 or even 3-0 pretty early. But it's that first quarter so important for the Broncos. It sets the tone, and I have to look at the data at some point. I have to see what the Broncos are as far as first quarter scoring and how much that correlates to wins, losses, because I really think it sets the table. Facebook user coming in here. Not sure who you are, but he says, Nick and Scott, do you think it's time to elevate Rippon as the backup quarterback? Interesting question here. I was really trying to avoid the Drew Lock stuff somewhat, but it is, I mean, we have to address it a little bit. What do you think here, Scott?
My question on this is, why is Brett Rippon on the roster? Okay. We know they don't like Drew Lock. That's not a bold statement. That Drew Lock doesn't have a lot of faith at Dove Valley, period. Administration, teammates, name it. So why is Brett Rippon on the roster? Because he could have been gone. You could have gotten something. He could have been signed away. Instead, you elevate him. He's taking up a spot. Those spots can be valuable. The way people drop like flies for the Broncos, he's taking up a spot on the 53-man active. Why? So it wouldn't totally, completely shock me to see the next time Teddy is out, if Brett Rippon was, has he been active? Has he been on the active roster at all? I know he's on the 53-man, but my guess is he probably hasn't been active.
I think he was when Locke was on the sick list.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. But why is this guy on the 53-man if you don't plan on putting him on the active roster? So I think there's something to that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and man, talking about Drew Lock, man, what a microcosm of his entire career to date. You see a couple really good throws. He flashes the arm talent. There's a couple awesome throws out there in the limited sample size that he had. But there's an RPO call. Maybe you want to blame Shermer for even putting them in a situation where he could throw it, where he throws that pick. But it's the wrong read off the bat in the RPO. He's got a helmet for a helmet on the left side handing it to Javonte Williams. And when you have a helmet for a helmet, which means you have the same amount of blockers as you do defensive linemen on one side of the ball, that's where you go. Because that means the running back doesn't have to make a guy miss. And if he does have to make a guy miss, that means somebody missed their blocking assignment. Drew Lock pulls back the RPO, and to the right, it's 2 Broncos pass catchers to 4 Chargers defenders. And he throws it to where only the best defensive player on the Chargers can get it for an interception. And there's only 1 minute and 19 seconds left on the clock on a second down on that play. What are you doing? What the team, they don't trust him, but maybe it's for good reason. Drew Lock just cannot protect the ball and get out of his own way.
Well, my only comment on that is a little higher level on this was he didn't play very well last year. 30 bottom 3 or maybe even the worst rated quarterback of the starters, 32, 31.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to get better as far as the way this goes, playing backup minutes and not seeing any time. So he hasn't played since last season. He wasn't going to get better without playing. So what did we expect for him to come in? Hopefully not do something completely dumb and give the ball away there. But he's not going to come in and just magically start playing great without getting the time to do it. And the question has always been asked on this show, on this channel, at least we would know. Well, maybe they do know, or at least they feel good enough to know in Dove Valley that we don't want this guy as our quarterback. Maybe they already know, and they don't have anything to prove to us. They don't have to run him out there and prove it to us that he doesn't belong out there. But I didn't have any expectations for him when he went out there because he hasn't been playing. He wasn't going to improve over last season without playing and practicing with the ones, et cetera, et cetera. So he's a backup. He's going to play like a backup.
Yeah, but he's got to play better if he wants to be a backup. You have to be, mentally prepared to go out there and execute.
Seize the day and all that and stuff, but my expectations were not high for him coming in basically cold.
Yeah, it's the situational awareness for me that just drives me nuts. You are up 14-0. The Chargers cannot get anything going. You're at about the 50-yard line with only 80 seconds left in the half. You're going to go to the halftime, even though you're going to give the ball to the Chargers with a 14-point lead. And the worst case scenario here, you punt the ball to them with 60 seconds left, and they have to march the ball 80 yards down the field. I take that every time with the way they're playing. But the interception, it's a touchdown, and that's what are you doing?
Tough to fix bad decision making.
Yeah,
it's tough. That's a trait. One of the things I look at in quarterbacks is based on stats, is touchdown to interception ratio and accuracy. I'm going to see, is he taking care of the ball, and is he putting it in the end zone without giving the ball away too often? And it was a small sample size, but it was a bad sample size yesterday.
Yeah, it really makes me think of a classic Drew Lock quote from a press conference where he talks about being a gunslinger. And it's like, sometimes I throw the ball, and as it leaves my hand, I'm like, oh no. Me too, Drew. And that's what happened with that Derwin James interception, man. It's just, that decision was so bad. I can't get over it. It was so bad. And it's not just, the throw in itself was bad, but it was the wrong read on the RPO and a terrible situational awareness, because that was the one thing you could not do there. We haven't even talked about the fumble on third down. Drew Lock fumbles for a first down, 1. Teddy Bridgewater, 0. So eat that stat, nerds. No, shout out to Tim Patrick for fighting for that ball and getting the first down on that Drew Lock fumble. But, Drew Lock finishes the game. He had some good throws out there. You saw a little bit of that mobility. But he finishes the game with a 0.2 QBR. I don't want to bury him too much for it, though. I mean, we're living moment by moment in this league, but I was also, equally upset in the Cleveland game where Teddy Bridgewater threw that interception, which in no man's land, to close out the first half. And it's like, buddy, you took points off the board. You don't need the touchdown there. You need the points. Don't put the ball in harm's way.
Risk reward.
Yep. Yeah. And
risk reward's a big part of the game management that we talk about almost as an insult when we call somebody a game manager.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
not always bad.
It's a couple of times in the red zone too. It's like, listen, you don't have to come away with 7 here, but you can't come away with 0. So in like that drive where Drew Lock, the Drew Lock touchdown drive, it was 3rd and goal from like the 9, and the Chargers had only one guy in the box. What the hell are you doing, Chargers? And the Broncos call a perfect draw play for a touchdown for Javonte Williams. That's living for the field goal there, saying, listen, we got the box number, and if we don't score the touchdown here, that's fine. We are not turning it over. We need the points to go up 2 possessions. And they got the touchdown, but it's so important for this team, how they're designed, that you cannot be turning the ball over. And it's just, you can't have it. You cannot have it.
Something interesting I picked up on the radio that I want to kind of change the subject a little bit before I forget it again, is on that game killing drive, the one that put the Broncos up 2 scores. I think Teddy was something like 5 of 6 for 75 yards.
2 great third down conversions too.
With great play from Javonte Williams on a screen pass, et cetera, et cetera. The radio feed, and I don't know if this hit anywhere else, reported that the headphones had gone out. So there was no communication with the sidelines between Teddy Bridgewater
Wow.
and the sidelines.
That's awesome.
And basically, oh, that's really impressive that, they get this done without the communication of the sidelines. And I kind of laughed and said to myself, maybe they got it done because they didn't have any communications with the sidelines, and Teddy was able to just take over and use his experience to get the ball to the right guys at the right time so that they could make plays. But that was a fantastic drive, and they did it with no communications. So I thought that was a little interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Teddy Bridgewater had 2 or 3 really good third down conversions on that, and that touchdown pass. I don't know if it was going to Noah Fant or Eric Saubert. I don't care. He threw it to an area where only one of his guys could catch the ball, and to make a play outside of structure to use Joey Bosa's momentum against him and stay on his feet, and then deliver a catchable pass for a touchdown. That would be, if that wasn't the nail in the coffin, it was damn setting it up for Patrick Surtain to hammer it home with that pick six that he had. Man, what a great play, right place, right time. That's what good defense is, right? Preparation. I see it all the time with my Iowa Hawkeyes. Everyone drink, eyes on the football, and when it's a tip drill, you take it and you go. Greg Smith coming in. Good morning, Broncos for breakfast. Late, gotta catch the show after. That's okay, Greg. We appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, Greg. Yeah, so the other thing I want to get to is Surtain. I was very happy with Surtain in this game. Let's talk a little bit of nitpicking stuff here. Surtain looks really good in coverage. I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed with his effort in tackling on the edge. I think he's he's too passive right now for how big he is at the point of attack, whether that be in the run game or the short pass game. There's a couple plays where he's just kind of holding a guy up and waiting for his defensive guys to get there. Surtain's a big player. And with the way this defense functions, he cannot be a +1. I want to see him be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, this dude needs to maybe spend the offseason with like Charles Tillman or something, because the peanut punch, man, you're holding that guy, hit the ball. He could have had a trifecta. The Denver is doing a good job at creating interceptions this year, but I think they're bottom 5 in forced fumbles. So that's something they should work on and look towards. But I guess I love Surtain. He's playing great football, and you're not paying him to tackle. It's about the coverage and the ball skills. But he's got to do a little bit better in the physical part of the game as far as tackling in the run game.
It's a little ironic that one of the reasons I liked him so much was because of his physical ability. I always called him a press and release type of corner, who can help and run support and make sure you're not getting the yards after the catch and stuff. And if anything, it's kind of flipped on its head a little bit, where his coverage is probably a little better than we thought. Yeah. And he's not quite as good in the run support or the tackles after the catch as we had thought too. That'll come. And some of this, I wonder a little bit, just the way the game has gone, how much tackling do they actually do in practices? You're not allowed to hit anybody anymore. You're not allowed to cover anybody anymore. It's tough. It's tough to play defense. It really is. Yeah. I was glad. Didn't he get hurdled? Was that him yesterday? I'm like, I was glad that knee didn't catch him dead on the forehead. I was like, that's how you end up getting a concussion on that. But made the play. Again, picking nits is you're absolutely right, because overall, if you're grading guys and you got to come, okay, that's a negative. And overall, these guys are still ace across the board. Yeah. So it was a great effort. And I actually listened to the call. I watched it was the national game, so I actually got to watch this one live for a change. But then I changed it over to the radio as they were putting the game away, and heard the radio call on that pick six. I was like, that's, he could be gone. I'm like, oh, he's gone. He's gone. I could hear that one. He's gone. Yeah. They ain't catching him.
Yeah, and this game, honestly, it could have been even more of a blowout. The Chargers put up essentially, which was a garbage time touchdown. There was only like 6 minutes left, and they drove down the field for a touchdown when they were down 28-7. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I'm glad I hope you feel better about that. Who cares,
right?
Supposed
to. What do you say? Yeah. Take a knee, go score.
You got to go score, because anything can happen. But yeah, this is a game. They made them march on the field, and shout out to Jared Cook for making that incredible catch as well. I think that was interesting enough. Maybe this is something that's starting to rear its head. We got to talk about going forward with Justin Herbert, but I think that was his only completion left of the hash marks, on the left side of the hash marks in the whole game. So want to watch for that. He's throwing a lot to the right in the middle of the field, but the left accuracy maybe is not so good. Maybe a little Mitch Trubisky there as far. That was a guy who could not hit the left side of the field to save his life.
Jared Cook, North Gwinnett player. I believe he was from pretty close to me. Went to South Carolina, I think.
Yep.
Big wide receiver at the time. Grew into
Yep.
that tight end spot, and he's been around a long time. Had a nice career. Good for him. That was a
Yeah.
hell of a catch. And
Yeah,
that was one of those that was really fun to watch in super slow mo too. Is it looks like y'all ever play the old game 500? Throw it up and whoever could get to the ball.
Yeah,
That was
for sure.
It was that was a heck of a play, and it's fun to appreciate one on a play like that when oh, okay, that didn't matter.
In my opinion, though, that was only the second best hops we saw in this game. Maybe the third best hops. Mike Williams, offensive pass interference catch. I don't know if it was offensive pass interference. That was an amazing catch. Man, Darby had perfect coverage too. But
I've seen worse. That's for sure. I've seen worse not called.
Perfect throw, perfect positioning beats perfect coverage every time, and that's what that was. But luckily, they called the offensive pass interference. The other one,
you could use some breaks.
God, really?
You could use some breaks going your way without a doubt.
Yeah, the other one that really I can't get out of my head, that Baron Browning skying for the football and tipping it on third down. I mean, that dude had to have like a 40-inch vertical on that one. That was incredible.
He's probably not far off of that.
What an athlete, man. 56. Broncos fans, enjoy the linebacker play that you got right there, because I think if he can stay healthy, he could be a real plus player and one of the best linebackers this team's had in a while. He was all over the field, Scott.
I think he's just had some bad luck with injuries. He played like 60 games or something, not 60, but he played almost all his games at Ohio State. Maybe have missed one in 3-4 years. So there's no history there. Yep. He's just had some bad luck. Who hasn't with the Denver Broncos?
Yeah. Absolutely. And Stephen Bumgarner's in the house, still rocking the Drew Lock photo here. Hopefully you're doing well, Stephen. Maybe we can get
that uniform.
The next year they're going to the rule where they can have the different helmets. So we're going to see this next year, I think. I love the lighter.
I like that uniform.
The lighter blue one with the shoulder stripes. Yeah, that is as gorgeous as it gets. That's my favorite uniform in all of sports, honestly. Yeah, but the last thing I want to get to, I guess, before we get on here, any other nitpicking that you have from this game, things that you'd like to see better? I mean, it's really hard to nitpick because this game flow was essentially perfect. The offensive line, it's hard to nitpick a guy when you're down to your second string and a third string left tackle. The game flow was essentially perfect. I mean, the only thing I have is the decision-making on that lock interception that almost lost you the game. But other than that was a great game. I mean,
I want to keep it positive, because if there's anybody I've picked nits with, it's probably Netane Muti. Yeah. And I thought that was as good as I've seen him look. I've only watched this year. But there's a lot of talk about, okay, he's this guy. I'm like, I haven't seen it. I just haven't. And there were a couple plays, where he's driving a guy and, finishing blocks and doing all. So I'm like, who's that guy? And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense now, because I didn't recognize the number right off the bat, because I haven't, had it seared into my memory, because he hasn't done enough to do that. Well, I'll remember his number now. So as far as like underappreciated player, I know those are some of the guys, some awards on different shows. I'm gonna give it to Muti. I thought he was my underappreciated player of the week.
Yeah, and I want to get to Richie Rich here about the Browning pass. He said he was way forward, and if he missed it, oh no. Browning was playing his zone coverage and had covered multiple guys that came across his zone, and then was reading the quarterback's eyes, got depth, and skied for the ball and got it. If Chargers get that one in, I don't think it's because Browning made any sort of mistake, but he got the play because he is that kind of athlete and was keeping his eyes on the quarterback. So he still covered his zone while making a play essentially out of his zone. Here we go. Teddy's hesitant to run. His touchdown was nitpick worthy. He scored, right? Like I think he pulled down.
Again, I was listening to this. So the play-by-play on the touchdown pass to Saubert was Teddy. I could hear him say as he's running through it, he says, and I haven't seen it, says Teddy could run, but throws it. So what we have seen, though, Nick, and we said this before, is Teddy is playing the game right now like he's banged up. Yeah. And in this one said he took a knock and it swelled up real bad. I think they probably took x-rays to make sure nothing was broken on his shin. Listen, I could probably run this in, but I can also probably make this throw. I'm going to do the one where I don't have to take another lick. And it worked out. So, but I get it. Because I've seen times where I thought he could run for some and he's throwing the ball away. So he's playing to me like he's hurting. He's hurting a little bit.
Yeah. And he's going to have to ice up, son, hit the ice bath because the Chiefs under Steve Spagnuolo and the Broncos offensive line, as injured as they are, he's going to blitz. Steve Spagnuolo loves to blitz. You're going to see a lot of different looks here. I bet you're going to see a lot of delays and twists and stunts with the interior offensive line. And hopefully we'll have both tackles back. Hopefully Dalton Reisner isn't that seriously injured, because Spagnuolo is going to put pressure on it and leave his coverage guys on an island. And Teddy's probably going to have to take some licks and stand tough and deliver footballs under pressure, because that's how Steve Spagnuolo rolls. So we'll see. Any other thoughts before we get on out of here? I mean, what a great game. Shout out to special teams again as well. I mean, that punt where perfect punt by Sam Martin, perfect coverage by Nate Hairston, putting it on the one. That's exactly what you want. I mean, punting is winning when you can do it like that and make it that hard for the opponent. So yeah, shout out to them as well. I think that doesn't get enough hype. And maybe again, everyone drink. Maybe that's the Hawkeye in me, because the Hawkeyes have been winning football games like that all season this year, pinning teams in the 5, and then the defense gets the offense a great field position and the offense scores a touchdown, not having to go very far. That's fine. That's perfect. If you can play complementary football like that, that works in every single league. So just wanted to give them as another special shout out before we get out of here.
No, we my only point on here is these are the Broncos we know you can be. We know it. Do it again.
Yep.
Go do it again. I said at the very beginning, the teams that the Broncos have struggled with are the teams that are going to bully in the trenches, that just want to just be nasty. I don't think that's the Chiefs. I'm not sure there's another one of those teams on the schedule, to be honest with you. So let's take care of business, run the ball, play good defense, take care of it, score when you got your opportunities, and playoffs.
Yeah, playoffs.
Maybe
It's definitely a possibility. Broncos offensive line, let's get healthy. And everybody enjoy the win. This has been a good time. Broncos are going to play meaningful football for the AFC West in December. We haven't said anything like that since 2015. So everybody enjoy it. That's the last time the Broncos beat Kansas City as well. Week 2, 2015. God, feels like eons ago. How much has happened in the world since 2015? My God. But this is exactly where you want to be. And if the Broncos lose this game against Kansas City, the season isn't over. But if they win this game against Kansas City in Arrowhead, buddy, everything they want is right in front of them, and they can go as far as they want. I mean, for real, like good defense and rushing the ball effectively, that translates to win when it's sloppy outside. And we're going to see some cold weather sloppy football coming up here. So appreciate you guys. We're going to get on out of here. Everyone keep enjoying the high right now. And everyone's like, oh, we can't hang on or rest on our laurels too long and think about it. You're a fan. You know, you're not going to go out there and suit up on Sunday. So if you guys want to enjoy this, the Chargers game, I say keep doing it, because this was a great game, and every single game in the NFL is tough. I mean, everybody was really saying the Broncos didn't beat anybody weeks 1 through 3. And we saw the Jets and the Giants win last week. So, I mean, that's every single game is hard. You can't take anybody for granted. So enjoy the win, enjoy playing meaningful football, and get your trash talk into the Chiefs right now. You know, we got a chance. So just enjoy your moments. Scott, what's the rest of the day looking like for you? You going to watch some more of this Broncos game again? Maybe some college football with what's on the docket?
Oh, we'll see. I think mine's fairly open today, actually. So I might catch up on a few things.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully everyone had a good one. You guys can follow Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy, and I am at Nick Kendell MHH. You guys can also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you're on Facebook, make sure you're following us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. YouTube folks, please subscribe to Mile High Huddle, like the page, share the shows after the fact when it's going on. We really appreciate when you do that. I always see some people sharing that on their socials or come across it on a different Broncos page. Always really, really appreciate that. Always catches me off guard. Like, oh man, who's that ugly guy? Ah, that's me. Okay. But appreciate you guys for doing that. Also, make sure you're joining Scott's channel, following us there at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Great win. Complementary football. That's how you want it. Didn't even, not even a lot of stress there. A little stress going into the, into halftime, but coming out, leaving no doubt on the field. So appreciate you guys. Good vibes only. Victory Monday. We will see you tomorrow morning at 7:30 Mountain Time for probably some more Broncos Chargers talk. Maybe go over some of the grades here. You guys stay safe. Be kind. Go Broncos.